hold it up that he's Mexican. That
like when I guys, always I say this, you share that video and put whatever you want. When I say I don't want to fight Mexican, it's because I represent Mexico, and that's why. But I don't care. I fight anybody, and I fight all my entire life anybody. What do you think? I don't want to fight with Juan Mexico or Benavidez. But look, I hear his dad talking a lot of shit. But look, he's accomplished nothing. One single champion, Anthony Dirrell. Please, don't disrespect myself. Please, guys. Me vale madre. O sea, si quieren pelear entre ellos, que peleen. Si no, pues, me vale. Al final de cuentas, yo voy a pelear con quien yo quiera pelear.
So the question there was, you've mentioned that you're going to need time to recover. I suppose.
No more question because I'm a little mad and I'm tired. Thank you.
Okay. So the question was, about, you'll obviously need some more time to recover. But thinking about the Bivol rematch and possible other rivals as well, would you like fighters like Benavidez and other fighters to fight amongst themselves? And Sal's answer was, they can do whatever they want. At the end of the day, I'm not bothered who they fight. They can do whatever they want.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I represent Mexico.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So that was Canelo Alvarez being bombarded with David Benavidez questions after he beat the 40-year-old Gennady Golovkin. I thought it was pretty funny, if you guys noticed, when a Mexican reporter had asked him something about David Benavidez, obviously they're speaking in Spanish, and it was almost as if Canelo Alvarez forgot that the conversation they just had was about to be translated. So as soon as the translator started to translate what was said, that's when Canelo cut him off and he said, you know what, no more questions. Basically, I'm done with this interview. Almost to interrupt the guy from translating what was said. But the guy, he still ended up translating every single thing that was said. So for almost 2 years, Canelo Alvarez has been making excuses for why he doesn't want to fight David Benavidez. At first, he was playing the Mexican card, saying, hey, man, I'm not fighting him because I don't want to fight another Mexican. I represent Mexico. And then as the media started to put more pressure on him, asking him more about David Benavidez or fighting David Benavidez, then Canelo Alvarez, he would say, well, who has he fought? He hasn't fought anyone, only Anthony Dirrell. Then you fast forward to present day, after David Benavidez beats Caleb Plant and then knocks out Demetrius Andrade, someone that Canelo has been running from for damn near 8 to 9 years. Now that David Benavidez has knocked out Demetrius Andrade and those Benavidez walls are closing in mighty fast, Canelo, he ain't even beating around the bush anymore. He's not trying to make any excuses anymore. Now he's getting straight to the point and saying, I'm not fighting him, period. I'm not going to fight him. I can fight whoever I want, etc., etc., etc. So I want to play this clip of what Canelo Alvarez said about David Benavidez. But before I play that clip, I want to play this clip of Canelo Alvarez finally contradicting himself on claiming that he's not going to fight any Mexicans because he represents Mexico. This is what he said to Fight Hub.
This is a different kind of fight for you because you're fighting a fellow Mexican, which you haven't done since Julio Cesar Chavez in 2017. After you've indicated throughout the years that you really didn't want to fight a fellow countryman, but here we are with Jaime. What made Jaime the perfect opponent for you?
I say that, yeah. But sometimes you need to do it. I think this fight with Jaime is going to be very important for Mexico. Two Mexicans in the Cinco de Mayo weekend in Las Vegas, everybody watching us. I think it's big for Mexico. It's big, and I love being involved in these kind of fights, and I'm proud about to give the opportunity to Jaime Munguia, the first two Mexican fighting the 4 belts. So I feel proud about it.
You heard Canelo Alvarez say, yeah, I know I said that before, that, I wasn't going to fight another Mexican, but sometimes you have to do it. Then he talks about how big it is for two Mexicans to be fighting on Cinco de Mayo for all 4 belts. Speaking of all 4 belts, how come none of these reporters has brought up the fact that David Benavidez is his mandatory and the WBC said that he's going to be forced to fight David Benavidez after his fight in May. So are you going to vacate the belt or are you going to fight David Benavidez? How come no one has asked that question? Because he holds the WBC belt, that's one of the most significant questions you can ask. So anyway, with that being said, Canelo Alvarez, he continues to talk about David Benavidez and why he will never fight David Benavidez. So I'm going to play this clip, but before I play this clip, I want to say I find it really interesting how a lot of reporters, they are very uncomfortable asking Canelo Alvarez about David Benavidez. They feel as if they're doing something wrong, or as if bringing up David Benavidez's name is just going to piss off Canelo. Because this guy who's interviewing Canelo Alvarez, he set up the David Benavidez question like an interrogation. Because in an interrogation, the goal is to make the suspect as comfortable as possible. You act like you're his friend. You offer him a drink, maybe something to eat, a cigarette, and then you start off by asking him easy softball questions. And once you get him to put his guard down, that's when you start asking him the real questions, the tough questions. And this is pretty much how this interview went. Because this guy that was interviewing Canelo Alvarez, he intentionally asked Canelo Alvarez about 100 other questions before he brought up David Benavidez. And then once he brought up the Benavidez question, listen to how he set it up.
So it wouldn't be considered an official interview if I didn't ask you about David Benavidez. Everyone wants to ask you about David Benavidez, so I have to as well. Fans believe you're ducking Benavidez by this $200 million price tag.
You see, the only time this interviewer sounds nervous is when he asked about David Benavidez.
What's your message to the fans, to your critics who say that you're dodging Benavidez?
That's not my fans. That's my critics. So that's a different. And they always have something to say about me.
Now, I'm going to break down every single thing that Canelo Alvarez is saying. Notice he says, those fans that are clamoring for the David Benavidez fight, because that's pretty much what he says. When he says, those fans that are saying, I'm avoiding David Benavidez, I'm ducking him, those are not my fans. Those are critics. In microcosm, what he's really saying is any of those people that want to see me fight David Benavidez, they're not my fans, because if they were, they would care about my health. These critics are trying to get me hurt, saying that I need to fight this guy, David Benavidez. That's basically what Canelo is saying. You can't say or imply the fans that want to see me fight David Benavidez, or they're saying I have to fight David Benavidez, they're not my fans. It makes absolutely no sense, because we all wanted to see Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. We want to see Gervonta Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. We want to see Haney versus Matias, Haney versus Teofimo Lopez, Haney versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz. We want to see Bivol versus Beterbiev. Why is it only when we want to see Canelo Alvarez against a dangerous opponent in his own division, that must be a critic and not a fan? I've put up interviews of other professional fighters saying they want to see Canelo fight David Benavidez. And then you'll scroll down in my comment section and there'll be Mexicans in the comment section saying, oh, they're just hating on Canelo. They're hating on Canelo because they want to see him fight against David Benavidez. And some of these Mexican fans, they even say, oh, you just want to see Canelo lose. Why would you be thinking that if fans want to see Canelo versus David Benavidez? You're telling on yourself. You're saying you believe that Canelo Alvarez would lose that fight and possibly get hurt. Real boxing fans, they want to see the best fight the best. Regardless of who you're rooting for, you still want to see the fight because you ultimately want to see who is the best in that division or in the sport, period. But not Canelo Alvarez fans. So Canelo is not lying when he says his Mexican fans, they don't want to see him fight David Benavidez. They're okay if he never fights David Benavidez. But when it comes to real boxing fans, they want to see the best fight the best.
That's not my fans. That's my critics. So that's a different. And they always have something to say about me. When he's Golovkin, when he's Lara, when he's Cotto, when he's now it's Benavidez. If you see my resume, I fought with everybody. So I don't have anything to say to that people because they never gonna understand that. Because they see, but they don't wanna understand. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm gonna still doing.
You heard what Canelo Alvarez just said. He just said, oh, they said the same thing when it came to Cotto, when it came to Golovkin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we were to use that same logic when it came to Floyd Mayweather, that means after Floyd Mayweather beat Diego Corrales, Castillo, and Genaro Hernandez, he didn't have to fight anyone else after that. He could just pick the easiest opponents for the rest of his career. But Floyd didn't do that. He ended up fighting against a 23-year-old Canelo Alvarez who outweighed him once again by damn near 20 pounds and was like 13 years younger than him. This man, Floyd Mayweather, was closer to 40 than he was to 30. Canelo Alvarez is only 33 years old, so of course there's going to always be new challenges. You beat this guy, then there's going to be someone else that's going to challenge you. That's the way the sport works.
But there also doesn't appear to be anyone at 168 pounds outside of Benavidez that could bring you the money you're looking for.
No, but because I don't, I fought with any fighter and I win my good money. So and I can do whatever I want in this time. I deserve it because I did everything in my career and I deserve being in this position and I'm gonna do whatever I want.
You know, Canelo Alvarez is right. He can fight whoever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. But the truth is, Canelo has been doing whatever he wants and fighting whoever he wanted from the beginning of his career. You go all the way back to when Canelo was a junior middleweight. He avoided Demetrius Andrade. He avoided the Charlo brothers, moved up to a higher weight class. Once Charlo became his mandatory, he vacated the belt. Before Demetrius Andrade became the champion, Canelo said he wanted to be undisputed at 160. As soon as Andrade became a champion, he had no interest in being undisputed at 160. Then he moved up to European Paradise 168, where he got to beat up all of the European/white fighters. And let me not forget to add, because it's important to add, he beat up all of the C+ European/white fighters because he lost to the A+ European fighters like Bivol. So when Canelo Alvarez says, I earned the right to fight whoever I want, it makes no sense because everyone fights whoever they want. Teofimo Lopez has been fighting whoever he wants from the beginning. Teofimo, he could have fought Devin Haney, Gervonta Tank Davis years ago. But because he decides to fight whoever he wants, he's fighting lesser opposition, just like Canelo Alvarez is. All of these fighters fight whoever they want. When Canelo Alvarez says he can fight whoever he wants, all he's doing is letting people know that if he really wanted to, he could make that fight happen. Meaning we can't blame it on promoters or anyone else. It's Canelo Alvarez that does not want to fight the best. Now, if Canelo Alvarez had beat the Charlo brothers, he had beat Demetrius Andrade in their prime, and then he beat David Benavidez, became pound for pound, the undisputed pound for pound best fighter in the world, then he truly could say, man, I can fight whoever I want, right? Floyd Mayweather, he beat Manny Pacquiao at age 38. Close to 40 years old. And Manny Pacquiao was not only younger than him, but Manny Pacquiao was considered pound for pound number 2, the best fighter in the world. Floyd Mayweather, he beat Canelo Alvarez at age 36, closer to age 37. Canelo outweighed Floyd Mayweather by damn near 20 pounds and was like, 13, 14 years younger. He had all of the physical advantages over Floyd Mayweather and still got completely annihilated and dominated in that fight. So my point is, when you retire on top, then you can truly say I can fight whoever I want, because I retired on top. I retired as the best fighter in the sport, the best athlete in the sport. And that is not Canelo Alvarez, and he's not close to that. At the end of the day, if you can fight whoever you want, then you have no excuse not to fight the best. Because if Terrence Crawford could fight whoever he wanted, he would have fought Errol Spence years ago, which means he probably would have got to Jermell Charlo before he lost to Canelo as well. There's many fighters that Crawford would have fought if he could have fought whoever he wanted to fight. He would have fought Manny Pacquiao if he could fight whoever he wanted to fight. Devin Haney, he would have fought Gervonta Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson if he could fight whoever he wanted to fight. So at the end of the day, if this is how Canelo Alvarez wants to be remembered, that's on him. With that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs and defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Diki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodiki.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.